Standing up for families throughout Nevada, telling the stories of working women and men. This is our voice and our community. We are Nevada with your hosts, Leonard Cardinale and Nick DiArcangelo.
Come on, rise up. Come on, rise up. Come on, rise up. Come on, rise up. Come on, rise up.
You are listening to We Are Nevada, the new voice for public employees, working families, retirees, and proud union workers on KLEV 1230 AM every Friday at 9 a.m. or streaming live on the internet at KLAV1230am.com. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Leonard.
Good morning. We have a great show planned today, Nick.
Oh, that is for sure. On this week's We Are Nevada program, we are speaking with a member of Washoe County Employee Association who has developed a unique program between local businesses and public employees. That'll be David Kelly. He's come up with this aggressive buy local program tying public employees to local businesses. And we'll also find out how the Public Employee Coalition is working to make this a statewide program. We'll also be talking to Erin Neff, who's joining us here in the studio this morning. She's Executive Director of Progress Now, and she'll be talking about politics, the upcoming legislative session, and also their education to educate people about the Koch brothers and a host of other things. So let's talk about some news, what's been going on in the week.
Yeah, it's been a busy week.
Oh, it's been great. There's been some really interesting articles. First thing is there's some news on the education initiative that I saw yesterday in the paper, and it says that a judge is saying that it needs more time before deciding if the initiative can roll out as it's written. And I noticed something in that article where they're talking about the wording and wrangling about the wording. And I know wording is important for these legal documents and how it goes through the bill. But the thing is, with the education initiative, the message is really simple, and we talked to Lynn Warney a couple of weeks last week or a couple of weeks ago.
She lined it out pretty specifically for everyone.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, this is the thing with the education initiative. It helps the education system, it helps children, it helps teachers, but it also helps our state. It's providing stability in the state budget. I mean, that's something.
Well,
we haven't seen.
it's an equitable solution. Let's call it what it is. At the end of the day, we're just trying to get everyone to pay their fair share. And there are some large-scale companies here in Nevada that don't pay an inventory tax. They don't pay a storage tax. And they've been getting pretty good breaks on their taxes over the years. And the middle class, I'll speak for myself and the people in my category, they, we pay a good 25, 26, 28% tax every year on our income. And we're just trying to get everyone to step up and participate in the future and the education of Nevada.
We kind of jumped into news, but Leonard, I noticed this is our third show, and we keep jumping over something I think is kind of important. And, we never really take any time at all to introduce who we are. No one knows who we are or what we do. Or
I know.
And I'm not talking about your fondness for long walks on the beach either. I'm talking about, basically. So,
don't
Leonard, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then I'll return the favor.
Wow. Currently, I work as a police sergeant in the city of North Las Vegas and the president of the North Las Vegas Police Supervisors Association. I also sit on the executive board for NARA, Nevada Alliance of Retired Americans, and I sit on the executive board for the We Are Nevada Public Employee Coalition. But we're careful not to call it a public employee coalition because we do have so many partners in the coalition that are not union, that are non-union partners, such as Progressive Now, such as Si Se Puede, and we have the Hispanic Youth Coalition, and we have PLAN, and a lot of groups that are on board that are going to help us as we approach this legislative session.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's the way things get done. These coalitions, the Broad Coalition, history has shown that that type of unity is what gets things done and helps reach goals. Okay, so my name is Nick DiArcangelo, as I mentioned, I think, at the top of the show. And one thing that I always like to point out is DiArcangelo is my real name, not a stage name. I get that a lot. People ask me that, but that is my real name. I am the Deputy Chief of Staff at SEIU Nevada, Local 1107. I've been there now for about 2 years. Before that, I was a Public Information Coordinator with the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada, and I was a public information coordinator there. And I was a union member. I was a SEIU rank and file, and then came over to the Hall. Before that, I had a career in this thing called broadcasting back in New York and also here in Las Vegas. I produced the Saving You Money segment for Channel 3 News for a while with Jim Snyder. That was fun. And then I jumped over, as they say in the news business, to the dark side. So, go ahead, sorry.
Thank you for that. Surprising me with that. I do appreciate it. What's interesting about today is Mitt Romney, possible presidential candidate, is in North Las Vegas talking to some of the local businesses there. But I noticed in the news the battle's heating up. Harry Reid has basically said that Romney had some tax issues over the last 10 years, and Romney fired back by saying that's not accurate. And now the news media is waiting to see what Harry Reid's going to do about going through with that information.
Yeah, he's in your neck of the woods, right?
Yeah. He's over in North Las Vegas, I think, talking with some of the larger businesses and hopefully talking about trying to get some jobs created and get some people back to work.
Yeah, I'd like to actually hear that plan. I think a few people would like to actually hear exactly what that plan is. Sarcasm, intentional. Hey, so there was a lot of election news this week. I saw something in the paper about voter registration, and I know that Todos a Votar, Let's Vote, made a stop in Las Vegas. This is a national Latino voter public education campaign. It's also a coalition, and they are working hard to register and mobilize thousands of Latino voters, bring the community together. I know that this article that I saw in the paper talked about voter registration, how important it will be, and of course it's important, and people should, if you are in Nevada and you're not registered to vote, you need to register to vote. You can go to the Secretary of State's website, and if you haven't voted, or if you've changed your personal information, let's say that you moved or changed your last name or something like that, make sure that you register to vote. It's so important. And then this came from what you might want to characterize as news of the obvious, right? So there was a report that said that when state-run health insurance programs were expanded, it had lower mortality rates. So imagine that. Expanding or making healthcare accessible actually helps people.
Right, and that's kind of like the retirement system that we talked about last week, where people don't want to pay now because they think they're saving money, but you're either going to pay now or pay later, because if you don't provide that health care and keep people relatively healthy during their careers, then later on, as they do retire and go on Social Security, if they have extended health care issues, they're going to end up having to pay for it as a society anyway. So it's really cheaper to provide the health care now, but some people are having trouble understanding that.
Yeah, I know, and I mean, and now they show it. They show 3 different states that expanded Medicaid and the state-run health insurance program for the poor, and they said that there are lower mortality rates. The other news that came out at the very beginning of the week, and we'll hear from next week. We'll actually hear a little bit from one of our SEIU nurses about this, and this is a report on nurse burnout. And this was a report that came out of Philadelphia and New Jersey, and this was a different type of report that actually focused on the effects of nurse burnout and what effect it has not just on the workers but also direct patient care. And this goes to our first show. We talked about safe staffing and issues like that, where again, it's one of those news from the obvious. If there aren't enough people, and if those people are burned out, then the quality of care that people are receiving is going to be less. But this goes into more specifics about infections and just bad things that are happening when there aren't enough people, and when those people that are there are working so hard that they're not doing the job that they could be doing. Well,
unfortunately, someone's going to probably have to get hurt before these companies start paying attention. And while we're talking about health care, one of the segments of the Affordable Care Act went into effect this week, where contraception has to be provided by the health care plan. And it's interesting because everyone's waiting to see how that's going to affect their local health care plans and how it's going to affect businesses and obviously local government employers. A lot of them pay health care, so we're going to have to see how that works, and I don't think they have the bugs worked out on that yet.
Yeah, well, it was definitely a busy week in news, and just a reminder, you are listening to We Are Nevada, the new radio program here on KLAV 1230 AM, or streaming live at www.klav1230am.com.
The following is a public service announcement from the We Are Nevada Talk Radio Show. Have you ever had your home or your car burglarized? You'll be surprised to know that some of the most common reasons for being burglarized include forgetting to lock the doors and forgetting to lock the windows. Let's be safety smart, Nevada. The next time you leave the house or park your car, stop and think, did I remember to lock my doors and windows? Then take a moment to check. Help Nevada law enforcement help you by being safety smart. This is a public service announcement from the new We Are Nevada KLAV 1230 AM Talk Radio in Las Vegas. Coming to you live every Friday morning at 9 a.m.
Leonard, thanks so much for that. I think that's an important thing that we can do in the show is that remind people about things like that, community events. This is, we always say that this is our voice, and this is represents the voice of our state. So I think those are really good tips.
Thank you, Nick. And as you mentioned earlier, we have Erin Neff, the Executive Director of Progress Now, right here in Nevada with us this morning. Good morning, Erin.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me here, Lynn.
Why don't you take a few minutes and tell us about yourself and tell us about Progress Now?
Well, sure. I'm born and raised on the East Coast. Yay.
Yay. That makes
Yay.
all of us.
Yay, East Coasters. Still watching baseball standings. And moved around the country quite a bit as a journalist, worked 13 years, including 10 here in Nevada for both the Review-Journal and the Las Vegas Sun, before... I will term it a little differently than Nick did, before I saw the light and got out of a dying journalism
Funny
business and decided to launch a progressive group here in Nevada that's focused on helping educate people about progressive issues, social justice, and revenue and taxation. No small job, but
just those things. That's
just a few. So we have a lot of fun. I have a staff of 3. We make a lot of noise online, and we do creative things to get attention for our issues. You mentioned Mitt Romney's in North Las Vegas this morning. Well, we're out there with a great big banner that says Foreclose Romney.
Oh, nice.
And we have a website, forecloseromney.com, in which we talk about how he thinks it's just peachy to let the market bottom out on people here in Nevada. And we just don't think that's the right solution. So we take a creative approach to issues. And like I said, we help other organizations get media exposure and help them get their messages out to Nevada voters.
With regard to Mitt Romney, in the newspaper, I guess one of the issues that he is trying to spread or attack is the middle class. He wants to seem like he's supportive of the middle class. And in the newspaper today, one of the Obama campaign spokeswomen, Liz Smith, said in a statement, quote, "We already know that Mitt Romney's plan for the middle class looks like. As an independent study highlighted yesterday, he'd raise taxes by more than $2,000 on middle-class families with children to pay tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans." Does that sound like somebody that's supporting the middle class?
No, I mean, he's a classic 1%er. There's no other way to look at Mitt Romney. This is a guy who has multi-millions offshore. That, to me, isn't middle class. I barely can go paycheck to paycheck and feed my family. I consider myself a proud member of the middle class. I went to college because my dad was a steel worker and could support the family. This is a guy who was born into money. His wife has a horse competing in the Olympics. She's got a horse named Gucci. This is a different class of people. When you talk about the tax issue here, if Mitt Romney wants to protect tax breaks for the wealthiest Americans, it's clear the way he pays for it is by keeping the rates high on the middle class. That puts him completely out of touch with the majority of Nevadans, the majority of Americans.
Well, as a public employee, I can tell you that we're under quite the attack. And they have a number of people, a lot of Republican conservatives, a lot of right-wingers, Tea Party type people. And even here in Nevada and our own local government entities, they kind of have this philosophy that the public employees make too much and our benefits are too high. But the reality is, for myself, I have 3 sons, 11, 12, and 13 years old. And, we pay our bills and we get through the week and we get through the month. And at this point, I'm not sure if I'll be able to afford to have all 3 of them go to college, or even one. College is extremely expensive. So as we move forward, they want us to keep our pay flat, and yet the inflation rate over the next year is planned to be about 8%. So you're talking to people that are concerned, that they're concerned about their future and trying to educate their children and just trying to get from paycheck to paycheck. And I can assure you that me and my friends are not at all comfortably financially secure.
Yeah, but you know what bugs me about this a little bit is that we were talking about this, and obviously we're all like-minded here at this table, but there are people who are in our same situation. Maybe their house is foreclosed, maybe they had a short sale. They're living paycheck to paycheck. They're salary workers, right? And somehow they've been lured in by this argument, all right, by regressives. And one of the things I like about Progress Now, when you look at the website, you guys don't pull any punches, right? I was reading. This is a quote that I read on one of the blogs regarding Dean Heller. I've watched Heller speak a lot over the last 2 years. He isn't Sharon Angle, but elements are there in terms of lack of critical thinking skills and inability to answer semi-tough to tough questions with thoughtful answers that aren't just a string of Pavlovian right-wing phrases. No, so
Wow.
It's clear what's being said here. But, we have voters that put guys like this in office, both in the state and nationally. Erin, what's the wake-up call that you can give to voters?
I wish I could have an alarm clock that woke up Nevada. It is frightening that Sharon Angle got 46% of the vote. I mean, we're talking about there is a large population of Nevadans that has been bought a corporate message that is delivered through seemingly normal Nevadans, Tea Party Nevadans, Republican or Libertarian Nevadans. This message sounds terrific. Mm-hmm. They also spend money to promote this message, and the average Nevadan isn't aware of that. You mentioned the Affordable Care Act, $4 million on television commercials to oppose the Affordable Care Act since it passed. In this state alone, the proponents of the Affordable Care Act have spent about $800,000 talking about key elements that people like. You cannot possibly win that battle for the public's minds when it is so tarnished with outside money. We already see major influences from around the country dumping money, dumping people, opening offices in this state to try to influence the election. We certainly have the right message. We certainly understand this issue from the right frame of mind. However, the money that is polluting our television... Reno is the second most saturated television market in the country in terms of political ads.
Wow.
And
Well, it's a stronghold for them, so they got to...
And here we are, first week in August. We are still months away from that election. So it is incredible how much money is flooding this state.
Erin, some say Progress Now is a, quote, left-wing group. How do you respond to that?
We are a nonprofit. We legally are a 501c3. We also have a 501c4 that lets us do direct advocacy and lobbying. I consider our group to be sane. I self-identify as a liberal, and the media calls us a liberal group, and I am not afraid of calling myself a liberal. And I believe liberal from its heart comes from way back in the time of Martin Luther and the liberation and the freedom of people's minds. And I believe completely when we talk about things, I believe we're correct. And I am not afraid to be called a liberal group.
Would you say there's a consistent theme, now that you mentioned Martin Luther King Jr., one of my personal favorites? Wasn't he really just advocating for fairness and equality? Isn't that what collective bargaining is about? Isn't that what the attack on the Affordable Care Act is about? Because aren't they really attacking just fairness and equitableness?
Absolutely. I actually was referencing Martin Luther back in the Enlightenment time, but you're right about King as well. So King's most famous statement that speaks to me is a threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. You take this from a fairness point of view. We are all under attack. And when they go after something like a public employee's benefits, that impacts me, a non-union person trying to raise 2 kids in this state. That impacts wages and discussions for all Nevada workers. When we start framing this discussion just in terms of how the Republicans are framing this, it is absolutely unfair, and it is absolutely an attack against all of us.
Erin, one of the things I love that you do, whether it was the Sharon Angle ad that was created, was how you use social media and how you get the message out there. We were just talking a lot about the odds as far as what corporations and all this money that goes into advertising and what we can do to get our own message out. The show is one way that we do that, but also, I mean, you guys really do a great job. I noticed on the website that there was a quote that you had a recording of Mike Roberson, and I want to play that here and talk about that a little bit.
I propose a couple of bills to start to change that, to enact common sense reforms to NRS 288, which is the collective bargaining statute for public employees, county and city. They got a hearing, and that was it. That's what would affect local government more than anything, and I would argue in a very positive way.
Okay, so if I could just paraphrase, then what we're talking about potentially, that what you'll be looking at the next session is how to impact 288 collective bargaining to the degree that hands over more authority to local governments in terms of being able to control their collective bargaining agreements to some degree.
Well, that's right.
All right, so that was the voice of Senator Michael Roberson. He's a state senator, a Republican out of Henderson. And Erin, just kind of walk us through. First of all, what is he? Who is he speaking to, and what's going on in this video?
Sure. This is a graduate school forum at UNLV from earlier this year. This is the kind of thing we spend our time on. So one of my staffers went to this with his flip camera and recorded this from the audience. And the reason we record Michael Roberson is because he very rarely does public events. He is the face of dismantling public benefits in the state of Nevada. And he is leading the Republican caucus in this election year. And so we pay attention to Michael Roberson, whereas most people don't know who he is.
Right, well, exactly.
He is an incredibly dangerous individual because he is in leadership and he is going to be the Republican leader in the Senate. When you have this guy telling graduate school students that the best way to control local government costs is to eradicate common people's rights to negotiate for their benefits, he is saying get rid of collective bargaining. To me, collective bargaining means both sides sit down and figure out how best to move forward. He is not a compromise person. He is highly conceited, highly egotistical. We ran into him in the 2011 legislature. We brought college students up to camp out on the lawn for a week, and he agreed to meet with us. So he sat in the hall with a bunch of our students, and he condescended to every one of them, talked over them, told them why they were wrong. Now, I can tell you, we have many people we butt heads with in the legislature, but none of them treat us the way he treated our kids. None of them have the attitude that they are correct and their way is the right way, come hell or high water. And that is his philosophy, and that is why we decided to put this video up so people could see him saying these things. He really does want to dismantle collective bargaining.
So it sounds like he wants to dismantle collective bargaining so that not only is your job at will, your very employment, but your hours, your benefit, your pay, your wages. And so it sounds to me like he wants to take it back to the pre-1920s, 1930s when collective bargaining was just forming, where you could just basically hire and fire, and you could basically do whatever you wanted to employees and set the rate of pay. And over time, it's shown that that will not be an equitable and fair and balanced way to treat employees.
And nor would it be a fair and equitable way to treat the public. We want some security. We want to know what we're going to pay as taxpayers. We want to know that our public employees aren't going to strike in critical areas where we need them on the job. And when you talk about just taking this right away, you're talking about taking away the right to compromise, the right to negotiate. This is a man who does not wish to compromise. And so anything he puts on the table in the legislature is not designed to be a quid pro quo for anything else. He wants to dismantle public employees. He sees them as the political opposition. He wants to get rid of organized labor, and that's what he's doing.
Well, and so last legislative session, there were 7 bills that were going after collective bargaining. And I'm not talking about weakening collective bargaining. There were some bills that were looking to take it away, right? And it ended up where it weakened. There was one specifically that hurt teachers. So, and that's what Roberson is talking about at the beginning of this video, is about what was shaking out the legislative session and what he was unable to do, and he's basically projecting what he hopes to be able to accomplish. Now, I love the fact that you went in and you recorded this. This stuff should be accessible and available to everybody. Is this the one thing about him? Is that this isn't a gotcha. His message is consistent.
His message is consistent. The problem with Roberson is no one hears his message except for lobbyists and right-wing interests that fund his caucus. And they eat this up. But the average working Nevadan has no idea who he is. And so the whole point of getting him on camera saying this is so that more people understand who he is. It's hard enough to get people to know who their city council person is and the role of the legislature and who their state senate or state assemblyman is. And if you don't live in his district in Henderson, you've never heard of him.
Well, as we get closer to the session, it's going to be increasingly difficult for him to keep his message just among his people. Well, let me ask you, Aaron, there are quite a few public employees and private employees as well listening this morning. Why is it such a good idea to join Progress Now? How do they get started? And how can you let us know, how can they connect with your group?
Sure. Progress Now Nevada started with my email contact list of about 500 people. It has grown to be a statewide network of 25,000.
Wow.
The easiest way to join, there is no membership fee. We need your zip code and your email address, and we will start communicating with you. You can choose what types of communications you want, and really you can find us online at progressnownevada.org and check us out on our various social media networks and see what you like. We have fun with our videos. We do quite a bit of Twitter interaction, and we just have fun doing what we do. So anyone who's interested, we are committed to the We Are Nevada Coalition. We are committed
That's great.
to being a part of solidarity with our brothers and sisters in working Nevada and public employee jobs.
Well,
And that said, we also do a lot of other issues, so you'll find a little bit of everything that we do online.
Well, we're glad to have you in the coalition.
I really, like I said, I really love your education efforts. I think I think they're amazing. The videos, I think, there's a new trend now in these videos that they get people's attention. You want to watch them, but also they educate. And whether it's the Robert Reich video, that 2-minute video, that great video that talks about what happened to this economy and who's responsible for that, your Sharon Angle video, and even this video of Mike Roberson, I think is important. And you also just had an event about educating about the Koch brothers.
Right. When Americans for Prosperity, that is a right-wing group funded by the Koch brothers. The Koch brothers are billionaire industrialists who fund a lot of regressive groups and conservative think tanks around the country. They came here with a bus tour to slam Shelley Berkeley statewide. I'm not sure how they do that as a 501c3 foundation, but that's neither here nor there.
Right.
They're here. The Koch brothers are playing heavily in this state, and so we showed a documentary last week at our offices, had about 70 people show up, and more importantly, in addition to showing them the documentary about the Koch brothers, we had a really good discussion about how the grassroots can overcome this poisonous money from out of state.
Well, the super PACs are definitely going to influence this upcoming election. And speaking of elections, coming up in June, we obviously have elections over in North Las Vegas. I believe the mayor and 2 of the city council seats will be up for election, and hopefully we can get your input.
And I think, again, this is another example with the Koch brothers where it's important that we do everything we can to keep educating people about, who's the man behind the curtain.
Absolutely. I think people in Nevada are finally understanding who Sheldon Adelson is. The average person may go to the Venetian for dinner or to see a show, and they have no idea that the owner of the Venetian's pledging $100 million to defeat President Obama. Mm-hmm. This is the reality. More people are now aware of Sheldon Adelson, and he's from Nevada. But when the money is coming from people you've never heard of, Charles and David Koch from outside of Nevada, and it is flooding into the state, people don't have a handle on that.
Well, we're hoping that the public will realize that Citizens United was probably not a good idea, and after this election, they'll see it more clearly.
Great. All right, Aaron, I just want to thank you again for coming out to our little show on the radio.
It's a fantastic program. Keep it up.
Thank you so much. No, I really appreciate that. And like I said, it's something that is really designed for, for everyone, for the people who don't have a voice, the things that we're talking about here. So thank you. And I'm sure we'll have you on again.
Thanks for coming on.
At the Minnesota State AFL-CIO Convention, Hubert Humphrey, the 38th Vice President of the United States, said, "The story of the labor movement needs to be taught in every school in this land. America is a living testimonial to what free men and women organized in free democratic trade unions can do to make a better life. We ought to be proud of it." This week in labor history. In 1981, U.S. federal air traffic controllers began a nationwide strike after their union, PATCO, rejected the government's final contract offer. Most of the 13,000 strikers ignored orders to go back to work and were fired on August 5th by President Ronald Reagan for participating in an illegal work stoppage. August 3rd, 1886. Labor activist and songwriter Florence Reese was born. She had been active in Harlan County, Kentucky coal strikes and penned the famous labor song, "Which Side Are You On?" The song was written in 1931 on an old wall calendar while Sheriff J.H. Blair was searching for her husband and ransacking her home. Blair had led his gang of thugs on a violent rampage, beating and murdering Union leaders. Let's listen now to an original recording of Florence Reese singing "Which Side Are You On?"
Come all you poor workers, good news to you I'll tell, how the good old Union has come in here to dwell. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? We're starting our good battle, we know we're sure to win, because we've got the gun thugs looking very thin. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? If you go to Harlan County, there is no neutral there. You'll either be a Union man or a thug for J.H. Blair. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? They say they have to guard us to educate their child. Their children live in luxury, our children almost wild. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Gentlemen, can you stand it? Oh, tell me how you can. Will you be a gun thug or will you be a man? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? My daddy was a miner, he's down in the iron sun. He'll be with you fellow workers till every battle's won. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Now all of you know which side you're on, and they'll never keep us down.
Welcome back to the We Are Nevada Talk Radio Show, 12:30 a.m., coming to you every Friday morning, 9 a.m. Today we have a guest from the Washoe County Employees Association. As you know, Nick, we have some northern partners in the coalition who have also joined us in the We Are Nevada. And today we're going to talk to David Kelly. The Washoe County Employees Association has recently launched a Buy Local campaign, and we have David Kelly, Public Relations Chair, here to chat about the new program.
David, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. You know, that's one thing that Leonard mentioned. This is a statewide coalition that it represents everyone that's in the state and these issues that face all working families throughout Nevada. And, you know, when I first heard about this campaign, I was speaking with someone at a coalition meeting up in the north, and it just totally captured my attention and my imagination as far as this issue of small businesses and public workers. And so tell me a little bit about this campaign. Why did WCEA start this Buy Local campaign?
Well, we had two main purposes when we started off. The first, of course, is to keep local dollars in the local economy. You know, our membership, we're members of the community too, and so having a vibrant economy here is important to us. These types of campaigns, you're seeing them more and more. I think that communities are becoming aware that when they shop locally, that has a dramatic impact on the local economy and the businesses and their neighbors. Instead of a portion of the money that is spent when we go out and shop being sent out to major corporations that may or may not re-spend it in our areas, it stays, and that continues to generate even more activity. The second reason that... Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The second reason for the campaign was that our membership was starting to take some heat or to feel bad about some of the negative rhetoric against public employees that I think we see a lot in the news and these days. And we wanted to reach out to the community with a message that, you know, those types of statements or feelings oftentimes are coming from organizations that have their own particular agenda. And in fact, our members and then all public employees are just neighbors who live in their community and love it just as much as everyone. And in addition, you know, the services that are provided by local municipalities are very important to the community, and the employees provide a stable economic base. And we just felt that it's important when we oftentimes hear negative messages about them to also respond and let people hear the other side of that argument.
Hey, David, I have a question. How did this project end up in your lap? You know, how did you become the front man for this and the person who is going to put out the message?
Well, it's sort of a long and winding road. I do work with the Washoe County Employees Association Board, and at one point somebody made a suggestion about having the business cards I'll talk about later. And I also do a lot of public relations work for the WCA to try to get out a positive message. So when I heard that idea, I thought, hey, that is a good message, and it should be out there, the impact that we have in the communities. So I took that idea and started formulating it into, as opposed to just a business card, but, you know, how can we actually make this a functional tool? And I guess because I pushed it, that's how I ended up in charge.
That's how these things usually work, right? Hey, I have a great idea. Okay, you're
right.
volunteered. You get to run it. I think a radio show started that way. Hey, I'd like to ask you about something because talk about this issue, and especially we see in the newspaper all the time, right? I know you're going to know what I'm talking about here, where we see this there's this divider that somehow there's a disconnect between businesses and public employees. That public employees, we live in some sort of economic bubble, right? And it's frustrating because these businesses. We know that small businesses rely on the economic power of public employees. That we know that they're out there spending their money. I went to a coffee shop once, and I was talking to the owner, and I was also there was a bunch of our members who worked in the park that was across the street, and they go over there and they patron this coffee shop. So is that a similar type of experience that you have up there, where you have these small business owners that they know where their bread and butter is coming from?
Oh, I think that's definitely true. And, I think one of the things that in particular public employees do is provide stable revenue base. There's always economic fluctuation, but that stability can really allow a business to feel confident and stay through difficult times. Actually, our county here commissioned a report last year from an economics professor at our university, and it talked about how the impact, in particular the downtown area, of the employees and the monies that they spend in local businesses accounted for 16% overall of the economic impact of Washoe County. And so I do think that there is a large awareness with local and small businesses of the importance of having that stable revenue base. And I just think sometimes that gets drowned out, by people who have other messages that they want to put out there.
Can I ask you a follow-up on that? Did you guys happen to talk to your local Chamber of Commerce? Are they in on this? Have you sat down with them and tried to work together?
We will be doing that. At this point, we haven't. We contacted them to get names of businesses. But the Chamber of Commerce also has a side offshoot that's just starting, which actually is a buy local as well. And the gentleman who's running that, we will be contacting him to see if there's anything how we can expand the operation. Great.
And David, you speak a lot about the economics of this idea. Can you elaborate on how you see it working?
Yeah, as I mentioned, by focusing on local businesses, more of the money stays in the local community as opposed to being shipped off. And oftentimes that money goes to a multinational corporation. And I'm not going to mention any names here because I want to be clear. I'm not opposed to any business, large, small, foreign, multinational. But how we're looking at this is that as citizens in our community, we feel that it's important that we focus on our neighborhoods first, and this is one mechanism we can use that. So, for example, if I spend $1 at a large chain restaurant, then some portion of that is going to immediately go to the profit, and that profit can go to investors overseas, or it can go, it may stay in the United States, but it may not. And so what that means is that dollar only generates, say, if it was a 20%, that only generates 80 cents on the dollar of local economic activity. If you shop at a local business and the local owner can reinvest the full dollar here, and that he can do that by hiring more employees, reinvesting in his company, purchasing resources from other local businesses, and the economics works in a cyclical fashion. So that extra 20% will then go to another local business, which spends that 20%, which then goes to another local business, and in the end will generate quite a bit of economic activity.
Yeah, I agree. I was working on something where I was trying to explain this to a member, and I kind of called it a coffee cup explanation, where I said, look, if you've got one guy who's earning all the money at the top, he's going in and he's buying the 1 cup of coffee, and then you have all these other workers that work for him, and he's going in and they're spending even if it's just $2 and it's 50 of them or whatever it is, there's definitely an economic impact there. And why do you think that in your opinion, why is promoting this type of economic activity so important right now at this moment?
Well, obviously here in Nevada, unemployment is very high. I think in the top 5 in the nation. And just as I was talking about, economics is cyclical, and it goes backwards. So if people without jobs can't spend money and promote local businesses, then those companies can't hire. So the problem is self-perpetuating. And there are negative effects. Everybody knows about the economic difficulties. The economic difficulties we're facing right now. But there's a lot of negative effects in our communities. When people start losing their homes, that's dramatic impact. First of all, on themselves and their families. And it also has another price in that we're seeing local governments faced with unprecedented budget gaps. A lot of their revenues come from property values. And this causes essential services to be cut. And in recession times, that's when they're actually needed the most. Local municipalities oftentimes provide health assistance for those who don't have the money to pay for it, or they provide food for those who need food. And those programs are seeing greater demand, and yet there's no money for it. Police and fire, they help to keep our community safe, and they're being scaled back dramatically. And not only that, but local governments are very much involved in the reinvestment that provides long-term sustainable growth and success in our communities. Investing in the education of our children is really important to have the labor force that's needed for tomorrow's industries. We're seeing cutbacks there, and even just capital improvements, which are important to just promote the area. And I do think it's really important that people remember that these budget problems were not primarily caused by local governments and spending, but by the banking and mortgage crisis that occurred a few years ago. And, unless we all get together and work together to fix the problem, I think the recovery is going to be very slow.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. This is definitely a situation where everybody really needs to pull together and work together on this problem. And I think that, from my own experience, speaking with our members and SEIU members and things like that, again, I mentioned this whole idea that we're not in a bubble. Public workers, they have relatives. If they work in transportation, they have relatives who are their teachers. And we have a lot of members who have their husbands or wives, they own small businesses. And so, again, this is something that this is an overlapping type of thing. And I'm wondering, as you've been speaking to these small businesses, what are the reactions? What's the feedback that you've been getting?
So far, it's been pretty positive. People, first of all, obviously, they like the idea of being able to promote their business, and they like to have a stable base of people who are going to actively be involved. And I do think that the main reaction is sometimes I get the acknowledgement that a lot of times the news rhetoric is negative, but really a lot of small businesses don't feel that way. And I kind of think that it's an opportunity for them to talk about that and say, hey, we don't really agree with that. And we understand we are all in together, and we appreciate the community, really, and that includes both of us.
Yeah, I agree, David. One of the items that I point out quite a bit is that when you pay public employees, their money becomes your money, because a lot of people look at it as paying public employees and then that money is not returned. But as that money is spent and as you increase public employees, it's been proven that when they start to spend, it increases the economy. But can you tell us, how does your Buy Local campaign work exactly?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. We encourage our members to shop at locally owned businesses. What we've done is we've printed up some business cards, and it has our logo on it, and on the other side it indicates that we're a public employee and we support local businesses in the community, and we ask for the businesses' support in return. And the idea is to not only help the local business, but also to let them know how much of an impact we have on the local economy, that we are there, we play a role. And part of it, we're also very excited that we offer businesses free advertising. We produce a quarterly newsletter. Hopefully we'll get to monthly shortly, but when we started the campaign, we sent out letters to local businesses letting them know that they're going to be seeing the cards and the purpose of the campaign. And if they choose to call our office and say, hey, we agree with you and we support you, then we throw their name in our newsletter so our membership can know specifically what businesses that are supporting us, and we can give their support as well. And some of the businesses also will throw in an advertisement, and then instead of just having their name listed, they get, I guess, like a business-size advertisement in there. And that benefits our membership as well. So they get a benefit, too.
All right. Well, then, I hate to put you on the spot, but here's an opportunity to give one of these businesses a little promotion that's looking out for our union brothers and sisters out there. Is there any business that comes to mind you want to mention up there?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I'll plug. It was the first business that signed up, and we were really excited that we were able to. When the local TV station picked us up, they also wanted to interview one of the businesses, and since they were the first one, we gave them the credit, and I'll give them again. And that's Joe Bob's Chicken Wings and Sparks. And the gentleman did do an interview, and like I said, was really supportive and says, yeah, I know, my business, a lot of public employees come in there, and I don't think I'd survive without them.
Well, Leonard, I think that
Excellent.
I think we have a place to visit when we go up there. And how are the chicken wings?
Chicken wings?
Yeah, I was just gonna.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
See, now that's the important thing. I want to know what their chicken wings are
My
like.
question is, mild
A nitro for me.
nitro.
Nice. All right.
I go all the way.
When we come up there, we're going to you're going to have to lead us, show us where they are, and we'll have to enjoy some of their chicken wings.
Absolutely.
So the campaign's going well, and if it actually, let me ask you this: if a business is out there and you're listening to this, whether it's on the website at klav1230am.com or they're listening in live, who do they contact if they want to become part of this program and work with you on this?
They just need to call the WCA office, and that phone number is 775-329-9750. And Michelle's our lovely receptionist there, and she'll take down their information and chat with them and get everything settled up for them. And then right away we'll get them into the next newsletter.
You know, I just want to touch again on this topic about the Chamber of Commerce, because, you know, down here especially, like I said, it seems like we're kind of butting heads, but we know that businesses do rely on us as an important economic engine in this community. What message do you think this sends out to not just the chamber, but other organizations like that, and to the public about, you know, what we're trying to do here and how we're trying to work together with local businesses?
Well, I do recognize what you're saying about the chamber. Sometimes, well, they have a message, and I guess going back to what I said earlier, what I feel that the message is here is positive. It emphasizes the joint partnership that we all have. And for those people who only want to put out one side or their negative opinions, I think what it does is says, hey, listen, we're going to speak up because there is another side to this. It is important to our communities, and we're not going to just let one message be put out there anymore. And I think that'll be heard, and I think that there will be a positive response from the community from that.
That sounds great. I myself, as you know or may not know, I work in North Las Vegas, and Curtis Cummings is the president of North Las Vegas chapter of the Chamber of Commerce, and a very open-minded gentleman, very professional gentleman, and it's a possibility if we go speak to him that we may be able to bring this down south as well.
That'd be fantastic. I think it benefits everybody in their local communities. So.
Well, thanks for your time, David. Is there anything else you want to add?
Thank you guys for letting me talk about it. It's a new campaign. It's getting rolling, and I take every opportunity I can to get the word out there. But I do want to say that I am really proud to be a part of it. I think that it is important, as we were just talking about with the Chamber of Commerce, to change the discussion from the normal politics that people are used to these days. It seems like when I listen to the news, everybody's angry with everyone else. Everybody's blaming everyone else, and I don't know. It just doesn't seem functional to me. And so I feel that this campaign, other ones like it, as well as being good for the economy and making that better, is really focused on community at its roots, and I think has a chance to change that partisan dialogue that we hear. And because I think everybody can get on board this. You know, we shop in our local community, and that provides economic activity for our neighbors, and everyone is better off from that.
Well, David, I think it's a great program. I think your program and the intention and what it's trying to do as far as bringing awareness to the public, this program here that we're a part of, and the Public Employee Coalition, you know, it's all about getting the message out, but it's also about member and public employee communication and education, letting people know that there is another voice out there. And I think that it's a wonderful program. And thank you very much for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you again.
All right.
Mr. David Kelly from the Washoe County Employees Association. Thank you for joining us.
Friday morning at 9, We Are Nevada is telling the stories of working women and men. We are standing up for families in Nevada. This is our voice and our community. Friday mornings at 9, We Are Nevada is live on KLAV AM 1230. We Are Nevada is a coalition of public employee unions. We are your caregivers, your teachers, and your public safety professionals. We are your family, your neighbors, and we keep our community running. We Are Nevada. We are united, and we are your voice every Friday morning at 9.
Next week, Friday, August 10th at 9 a.m. on KLAV 1230, We Are Nevada. Leonard and I have another great show where we bring you your voice to all of Nevada. We'll be heading up north again to talk to a labor and delivery nurse about the state of healthcare in Nevada. She works at one of the most profitable hospitals in the nation and the most profitable in the state. She'll tell us about the day-to-day in Nevada's hospitals for both nursing and support staff, issues about staffing, burnout, and safety in our hospitals, issues that are important to every Nevadan.
Also next week, Nick and I will be talking about collective bargaining. Nick and I have had many requests from our members to provide some background about collective bargaining, and they've asked us to talk about what the process really means to public employees and to the future of Nevada.
All right. Well, thanks again, Leonard, for a great show, and I can't wait till next week.
Thanks, Nick. Have a good day. Great show.
Now the sweet bells of mercy